So we'll talk about how to set up our calculator for our calculator essentially to bend to our will when wanting to use a function and inputting a particular set of numbers and see what happens to the outputs. So for example, when we're calculating limits. So the first thing we want to do is set up the table. So I'm going to press my second button. I notice that it says TBL set above the window button here, window key. So that tells me I have to press the yellow button first and then that button to get to the table setup. So second and window gets me to the table setup. Now these first items up here don't really matter. What I'm really concerned with here is this independent. So independent means the input variable. And I want it to ask me what I want to use instead of it automatically calculating a sequence like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want to use that. If I'm calculating a limit, I might want to use 1.9, 1.99, 1.999, etc. So I'm going to have it set to ask. So I'm going to use the arrow button and I'm going to go down to, whoops, too far, and then go over to ask and hit enter. So now notice that ask is highlighted. So the independent variable is going to ask me what I want, and then the output variable, the dependent variable, should be set to auto because I want it to automatically calculate what I want it to calculate. Okay, so from there, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the y equals screen and put in a function that you're interested in. Let's say that function is x squared minus 5. And then I want to see what happens when I plug in different values. So I'm going to go to the table. So I'm going to see, you may have done this in your previous algebra courses where you made a t-table. You had an x value and then you found out what the corresponding y value was. And then you got another x value and the corresponding y value, etc. So that's what we're going to do here, but we're going to let the calculator do all the calculating for us. So again, I want the table, which is in yellow, so that tells me I have to press the yellow key first and then that key. So notice there's nothing in here. Okay, so previously you may have seen this starts at like 1 and goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's not what I want. So let's say I want the calculator to calculate x squared minus 5 at 1.9. So I just type 1.9 and hit enter. Notice it calculates the answer as negative 1.39. And then let's say I want to calculate it at 1.99. And I get that answer, and I can see what that answer is. Now be careful, what you see here under y1 is a rounded number. So if I want to actually see what the number is to more digits, I can actually arrow over and up to that number, and I can see that the calculator is actually rounded negative 1.0399 to negative 1.04. And for a lot of the work, we actually want to see this fuller, this larger number worth more digits to really get a feel for some information that we're looking to gather. Okay, so just a quick review. You're going to go to second and window to go to the table setup, and we want to make sure that the independent is set to ask and the dependent is set to auto. So we want it to ask me what I want to use for the input variable, the independent variable, and I want the calculator to automatically do my calculations of my output or dependent variable. And then from there you go to the y equals, put in the function you're interested in, and then go to the table, second graph to the table to put in your input variables. So let's say my next input variable, I wanted to know what the value was at exactly at 2 and hit enter and it calculates it for you. And if I want to see more digits, then I just arrow over and highlight the number I want more digits for.